Hey guys, this is my recap of the World Chess Championship Game 13 between Gukesh and Ding. So Gukesh starts with the white pieces. He plays e4, and again we get Ding playing the French with e6. And the last two times we got the French in this match, one was the first game, and we will pretty much follow that game for a while, but I'll just play the moves until we deviate. But the other game we got to exchange French, so it deviated really quick. So we get d4, d5, and then here Gukesh played the exchange French with e takes d5, and I think it was game 5. But we get knight c3, we get knight f6, e5, knight d7, knight e2. He played this in the first game as well. We get c5, c3, knight c6, and then a3 is where Gukesh deviates from his first game. So in the other game, he played f4, and then we got a5. Basically, the idea of this is to bring the knight to f4, as we'll see in the game. So we get bishop e7, we get bishop e3, we get knight b6, knight f4, and white has a pleasant position here. We get c takes d4, we get c takes d4, and then we get knight c4. So the good thing about this opening for Gukesh is that he hasn't wasted a move with like bishop e2. So now he can just chop off that knight without losing any time. And here Gukesh could have played queen g4 going for this square, and black's going to be in some trouble. But instead we get knight e2. Still a good move, but now black will be able to consolidate. He could have castled here or played f6, but he decides to go with b5, which is fine. But as we'll see in the game, Ding gets in a bit of trouble. So he castles, we get knight c3, hitting this pawn. Could go a6, could go rook b8, and that's what he does. And now the main issue in black's position is this bishop on c8. It doesn't really have a time, I guess you would say, to get on this b7 square, because if like bishop b7, this pawn will hang. So we get knight h5, going for these squares. There's still f6, but after f6, this knight controls that square, so it wouldn't be like if the bishop takes, then you would be able to take that bishop off with the knight. But instead we get f5 from Ding, not f6. Idea being to stop queen g4. We get en passant from Gukesh. And now again, after bishop takes, we get we could have gotten knight takes. But instead he goes with a tricky move, which is queen f3. After queen f3, there's some tactical lines where, like, say takes, takes, rook takes, queen goes back, there's e5, and white will win the rook. However, after this, black is getting a really good bishop on d3. This knight's really good. Black has a good pawn structure, king's safe, and black should be okay. But Ding doesn't go for that line. Instead, he plays queen e8, which keeps some pieces on the board. After takes, takes. Queen could have gone to e4, e2, or d1, h3. But e2 is just a solid square. And here, black had many options. Rook f5 was an interesting idea, keeping it on this pawn and the square. But we get queen g6, still a good move. We get f3. Could have gone a6, just defending this pawn. But instead, I believe Ding makes a mistake here. Not really here. rook f8 is just a small inaccuracy, but it's still completely fine. But here we get the inaccuracy, so like a significant one. So after 97, we get bishop f4. The tactic being, if takes, there's queen here, this bishop's in the way, so you lose a rook. For a bishop, let's see. Yeah, so you're down to exchange. So instead, black's gonna have to move the rook to here or here. If here, there's this, right? If here, there's bishop d6 right away, but we pretty much get that line, but it's a little better for black. So after here, we get rook b7, bishop d6. So this is the same line. Here it would be a little bit better to give up the pawn, but human speaking, you're not going to do that. So we get this line where white might have a winning position here after rook e1, but it's very computer line. So Gukesh goes for trades, and this is still really good for white. We get queen e5, we get a6, we get d5 from Gukesh, and both players still need around like 13 moves until they reach time control, but they both have a decent amount of time, so they should be okay. We get takes, only move. Other moves are just going to allow d6, and that's not going to be good for black. So takes with check. Many moves here, but most accurate are rook e6 or queen e6, I believe. Queen h8 is also okay. We get queen e6 and queen c5. Now there's a lot of tricks for white. Black has to be really careful or they're just going to lose on the spot. Mainly because of checks on the back rank. This bishop could be hanging in some lines. For example, after rook here, there's check. If blocks, obviously this is rook kings. After the king goes up, there's some checks. Go here. After here, there is rook d1. This is like some computer lines. But we get rook e8, so preventing any back rank checks. We get rook e1, and now Ding should play here. Takes. And after here, it looks like black will be losing after this fork. However, black can barely survive by just keep attacking basically the queen. And I believe it is in this position, white can go for this line where they are in a better position, but it should be a draw with perfect play. So that's what Ding could have gone for, and it was realistically the only way to save the game. But instead we get queen f7, and Gukesh has a win here with takes, 94, and the winning idea is hitting this bishop again, and we will get some checks. Black's pieces are really passive, and there's some kind of engine maneuvering, so it's still really difficult. So Gukesh didn't go for that. Instead, Gukesh plays 94, which is still really good. Black only has one move to save the game, the threat being this fork here. And if rook c5, or c7, I mean, there's knight f6 check, takes, and white is winning. But instead we get 94. All right. Instead, Ding finds it, right, with rook f8. We get knight d6, and the only move to save the game now is rook c7, counterattacking the queen. If takes, there's takes. So we get queen e5, queen f6, obviously the only move. If queen here, I guess this rook is going to be misplaced, allowing a check. Just bring in the rook here, and then you can never take because you're going to lose a piece or get mated. So queen f6 after takes. Yeah, you have g takes is the difference, right? So Gukesh keeps the queens on the board. We get check. We get king h8, rook e5, rook e7, going for trades. And now Ding should be able to hold the draw. But it's still a little difficult, but Ding's able to find all the moves. And right here, they reach move 40. Ding still had like over a minute, and Gukesh had like 3 minutes. So Ding got a little bit low, but he managed his time enough to where he didn't get in too much time pressure. So we get queen d4. Gukesh is threatening mate. Only moves obviously to defend with the rook. We get h3, creating lift after this check here. We get check. We get king f2. We get bishop takes e4. Rook takes. There was, like any other lines are losing. Like say queen takes, there's this check, and white is losing. And if pawn takes, there's this. So white needs to be careful. Obviously, you're going to take with the rook. A solid move. We get c3 from Ding, trying to just get this draw on the board. This is a really like good move because if queen takes, this rook endgame is going to be a draw. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to play accurate and active, but after this is going to be just a draw. And if Ding doesn't play this move and lets the game go on, if these rooks get traded, let's say a5. Let's see, how can we get these rooks traded? Let's just say here, right? White can play on for a really long time, and if somehow all these pawns got traded, the 3-on-2 can be a little bit difficult for black to defend. So Ding doesn't allow any possibilities of that. With c3, takes. Gukesh didn't take with the queen. He wants to keep queens on the board because, again, that rook endgame's a draw. Or like an easy draw for grandmasters. We get queen b3, rook e7, a5. Now rook b7 here, it seems like black might be in a little bit of trouble if white can win these pawns, but we get queen c4, and now black's going for the queen trade, and this rook endgame again will be a draw with the 2-on-3. So Gukesh doesn't trade. We get queen c6, hitting the rook, and we get a trade of pawns. Gukesh goes for this pawn again. We get a check. We get queen b4. And no matter how white takes, you're going to trade queens. So Gukesh should trade, shouldn't allow like any counterplay, because after here, again, like white might be better, but there is this pawn that white's going to have to deal with. So there's not much for Gukesh, so he just trades, and after a few moves, we will get, actually not a few moves. I think they play this endgame out. I'll just go through the moves because, again, this endgame is a draw. There's not really that many tricks to go for. As long as you don't press too hard, neither side will lose. So we get a repetition, and they agree to a draw. All right, so that was the game. I'm not sure. Is there anything I missed? I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in the game. Were there any critical moves that I didn't mention? Not really. Gukesh did have a chance to win, but again, those lines were really complicated. Um, and they're like most of the advantages in these games, at least like in the World Chess Championship games, uh, the winning lines are very engine-like, so it's not easy for even a grandmaster to convert. And that's the thing. Basically, to win these games, you have to basically play really well in the critical position. And this was the biggest advantage I think Gukesh had in the position. But it's not clear how you win. So yeah, Gukesh had some chances. I wouldn't fault him for not finding this one. Trying to think which position. Yeah, because I mean, the bit to like get a winning advantage, the bishop needs to stay here, not go here. So it's just really engine like. I'm trying to think if there's any just like not even a winning move, just like kind of a. I think if Gukesh went for Queen G4 here, he would have had a lot more better of a chance to win the game. Because after Queen G4, let's say G6, Black has a lot of issues on the dark squares and the king side. So I think this would have been extremely difficult for Ding to defend. But yeah, that was this game. There's only one more game tomorrow where Ding will have the white pieces, and we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.